You're telling me that this kid who's not military trained, this guy, first of all, how did he get to the roof? How come nobody was looking? How come nobody was like, there's a direct line of sight between where he's sitting and those roofs? You guys didn't check? You don't have a drone? Like, that's insane. So he's on the roof. He shoots. He jumps from the roof. He jumps down 14.
Dave just lit up the entire internet, and he did it in front of 6,000 stunned faces in Riyadh. At the massive comedy festival, he stopped mid-set, scanned the crowd, and dropped a line that froze the whole arena. It's easier to talk here than in America. The crowd went dead quiet for a second before gasping, but what came next blew the roof off. Dave said it's now dangerous to even say Charlie Kirk's name on stage back home. That line alone flipped the whole mood instantly. Within minutes, clips of that moment were everywhere. TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, you name it. People couldn't believe what they'd just heard. Some were cheering him on for being fearless. Others were furious, calling him reckless. Even politicians started jumping into the mess. What began as a simple joke turned into a nationwide debate about free speech, censorship, and who's really silencing who. News outlets couldn't resist. Every network turned the bit into a breaking headline, and the timing, unreal. Just days earlier, Jimmy Kimmel got suspended from his own show after questioning the FBI's official story about the Charlie Kirk shooting. Suddenly, this wasn't just celebrity drama. It was a full-blown fight over truth and power. Fans were divided, the media was scrambling, and now the story had 3 names running the whole show: Dave Chappelle, Jimmy Kimmel, and Candace Owens.
Whenever the authority says something and not prod any further. We can't allow that to happen here. I won't allow that to happen here because this something terrible has traumatized the world, okay? And I feel as though when it comes to this, the media, the government, the talking heads, everyone is confusing us about what actually took place with
Each one came out swinging, questioning how a 22-year-old named Tyler Robinson could have pulled it off alone. So what are they all hinting at? What secret is everyone too scared to touch? When that Utah campus event turned tragic, the whole country cracked in half. With Kimmel's suspension making headlines, he quickly became the face of punished for speaking up. Dave's bold words pushed it further. And Candace? She refused to back down. She's been the loudest voice demanding real proof, screaming that the government's hiding behind fancy press statements. These 3 turned one horrifying night into a worldwide standoff about trust, lies, and who's really in charge behind those closed doors. But soon the contradictions started stacking up. Utah's Republican Governor Spencer Cox told CNN that Tyler Robinson came from a conservative home but was deeply indoctrinated with leftist ideology. That phrase, deeply indoctrinated, suddenly became the centerpiece of the FBI's story. But then, boom, body cam footage dropped, showing a shadowy figure leaping from the roof of the OSI Center.
She really is just the moment. The speech that she gave, everybody was just wowed by her. I felt my energy personally, like last night going into that, I was effectively like soaring in the air above the convention center, like a dragon above, waiting for Erica to just be like, fire. And I was just gonna come down and swoop in out of nowhere. All the politicians, all the fake people, everyone was just gonna be in that moment.
That absence has fueled one of the more controversial threads in Dave's new allegations. In
the same building where Charlie was speaking. And that's when everything went crazy again. Because guess what? Robinson's 2023 medical record said he had partial paralysis on his right side after a car crash. His friends from Dixie Technical College even said he could barely climb stairs, let alone scale a rooftop like some action hero. Candace jumped all over that, saying the whole FBI story was so federally written it looked like a script, not a crime. That line alone went viral. Even Joe Rogan, who tried to play it neutral at first, couldn't stay silent anymore. On his podcast, he said flat out that the story doesn't make sense, that it's impossible for an untrained college kid to pull off such a clean, long-range shot without military training. Joe doesn't throw around words like that, and people knew it meant something. That comment hit social media like a grenade. Then the FBI's version started crumbling fast. Their first claim was that Robinson's father turned him in after recognizing him from surveillance footage. But once people dug deeper, that story fell apart too. Something was off, and everyone could feel it.
Whether or not he's even the guy who shot him. Maybe he thought he was going to shoot him. Maybe he's a patsy. Maybe he did it.
I feel like he's a plant. Did you see the video? Did you see the person doing the investigating on his mom's Facebook?
No.
You haven't seen this? Have you seen that, Jamie? Some dude online.
His mom's got a weird Facebook. I
It's
spill coffee.
very trippy. It doesn't make any sense.
Candace Owens came back swinging days later, dropping receipts. She brought out court filings showing a completely different story, that Robinson didn't turn himself in at all. She said it was a late-night raid, a forced arrest. And here's the kicker. Just hours before that, the FBI announced a $100,000 reward for his capture. To everyone watching, it looked like they were desperate to close the case fast, before the truth slipped out. Jimmy Kimmel, right before his suspension, had even asked on air, why would a federal agency offer six figures for someone already under surveillance? That question hit the internet like wildfire. And no one, not a single official, ever answered it. That silence screamed louder than any denial ever could. Then things got darker, literally. When investigators processed the scene, they found bullet casings with creepy engravings scratched into them. Phrases like K-fascist catch and Oh Bella Ciao, a nod to an old anti-fascist anthem. Local police confirmed it, but right after, they passed everything straight to the FBI, who've stayed totally silent about it ever since. Fans said it felt like the moment the curtain dropped on a staged play, eerie, scripted, and suspicious as hell. Even Governor Cox had to admit that some of the evidence hinted at a political motive.
And I want to be very clear that I believe, in fact, I know, that towards the end, Charlie was fighting for custody of himself. I want to say that. I want to say that plainly, and there are lies that are being told and they need to be slapped down right now.
But he refused to say which side it pointed to. Candace, never one to hold back, told her audience that those engravings were performance markers, planted clues meant to make it look like a left-wing attack. That theory sent shockwaves through her followers. People started replaying every angle of the footage, convinced the scene was staged. But amid all the noise, one silence stood out. Charlie Kirk's parents. Since that night, they've been completely off the grid. No statements, no interviews, not even at his memorial. Fans noticed fast, and the internet turned their absence into its own mystery. And according to Dave Chappelle, that silence wasn't coincidence, it was protection. During that same Riad set, Dave hinted that someone close to the family was being shielded from the spotlight. The crowd froze. Everyone instantly knew who he meant. And then, just 2 days later, a leaked podcast clip hit the web, and Dave didn't hold back anymore. He said the government was using misinformation to protect one woman in particular, Erica Kirk, Charlie's widow. He called her a so-called honeypot, claiming she'd been placed near Charlie to influence him or keep tabs on him. The internet exploded. Entertainment pages called it his most explosive accusation ever. And fans couldn't stop asking, what if Dave's right? What if Erica wasn't just the grieving widow but the key to everything? Things exploded again when an old clip from Erica's memorial speech resurfaced. And it was haunting. Standing on stage, voice trembling, she said, "You have no idea the fire that you have unleashed." That single sentence sent shivers through the crowd. It was the only time she had spoken publicly since the tragedy. But what made it even more unsettling was the empty seats where Charlie's parents should have been.
Toast. But she didn't call for war. Erica did not call for war. In fact, she did the exact opposite, which is what was so stunning. It was unbelievable. The forgiveness that she granted, the strength that it took for her to call for that forgiveness, it's just unmatched, and it really made a difference. And I was being serious when I tweeted that I think it was the most consequential speech in American history.
That image burned into people's minds. A widow, alone, under the spotlight while the family stayed out of sight. The internet lost it. Viewers flooded comment sections, asking if Erica's silence meant protection or guilt. Was she a grieving wife caught in a storm or a piece in someone's bigger game? The mystery deepened fast, and people could feel something wasn't right. Then came the whispers from behind the curtain. After his Riad performance, insiders said Dave Chappelle looked shaken backstage. Not his usual cool, confident self. Reports claim he warned fellow comedians that he was expecting serious retaliation once he returned to the US. That line alone freaked everyone out, because if Dave Chappelle, the man who jokes through chaos, was scared, then what exactly was he scared of? Those warnings weren't random either. They echoed what he'd said earlier that same night, and when he spoke about fearing backlash for criticizing Israel's actions in Gaza. According to Variety, Dave told close friends that the Charlie Kirk case wasn't just another story. It was the thread connecting everything, the censorship, the politics, the media control. Some thought he was going too far, but others said he was finally saying out loud what everyone else whispers in private. The irony couldn't be heavier.
Like, the more they keep looking into it, the more they're like, this doesn't feel like a real... It feels super fabricated.
But here's the thing. Just like I was talking about when people are arguing on social media, It's all part of the plan. If you want.
The man known for defending American free speech had to travel all the way to Saudi Arabia, one of the most censored places on earth, just to feel free to speak. That hit people hard. It was like the loudest voice in comedy had to leave his own country to tell the truth. Meanwhile, back in the States, the entertainment industry was still in shock from Jimmy Kimmel's sudden suspension. His fiery monologue didn't just challenge politics, he accused certain Trump-linked figures of twisting Charlie Kirk's tragedy for their own gain. But insiders said that wasn't why he got cut. His real mistake was hinting that the FBI might have covered something up, and that's when the hammer dropped. The very next morning, Kimmel was off the air. No warning, no goodbye. Hollywood erupted. From Tom Hanks to Jennifer Aniston, over 400 public figures signed an ACLU-backed letter calling it a dark moment for free speech in America. Social media lit up with hashtag #StandWithKimmel trending for days. But what made jaws drop wasn't the celebrity outrage. It was Washington's cold, calculated response. FCC Chairman Brendan Carr, a Trump ally, issued a statement that sounded more like a threat than policy, warning networks that failure to act appropriately could lead to further review by the commission. That phrase, further review, sent chills down people's spines.
You get some kid who has a boyfriend who's a furry, and you
boyfriend is a
talk to him
furry?
on Discord. I think he's a furry.
Is
I
that
don't
a-
want to disrespect.
I don't know if that's a
He's
real
definitely
thing. Is that?
His boyfriend's definitely a guy who became a girl.
And wears furry stuff.
I think they do furry. Or furry games, excuse me.
Even Senator Ted Cruz compared it to something straight out of a mafia movie. Within 24 hours, Kimmel was gone, his show frozen in time, message delivered loud and clear, stay quiet or vanish. As the public's anger over censorship reached a breaking point, Candace Owens came back swinging. On her show's 242nd episode, she dropped what she called undeniable proof that Tyler Robinson couldn't have acted alone. She laid it all out. No verified footage showing Robinson pulling the trigger, conflicting witness statements about what the shooter wore, and a gun that didn't match the ballistic fragments found at the scene. People were shocked. Then she dropped another bombshell. The rooftop shooter in the leaked video was wearing full tactical gear, while Robinson had been seen hours earlier in jeans and a t-shirt. The eyewitness who captured that clip told Owens he reported it to campus security immediately, and they ignored him. Later, when the footage surfaced online, the man allegedly got a surprise visit from federal agents warning him not to talk to the media. The FBI never confirmed or denied any of it, which only made the rumors grow louder. I want to be very clear, Owens said during her broadcast, her voice sharp and unshaken. This isn't conspiracy. This is evidence they don't want you to see. That statement split the nation down the middle. Some praised her as fearless for standing up to power, while others accused her of pushing dangerous claims. But one thing's for sure, no one can ignore Candace Owens when she steps into the ring. Even Charlie Kirk's longtime pastor, Rob McCoy, stepped into the chaos. And he didn't hold back. He publicly slammed Candace Owens, saying she was spreading baseless rumors, and that Charlie would never have treated her this way. But behind closed doors, things weren't so black and white.
If you want people to lose all faith that anyone is going to solve anything, you had a bunch of, if you're going to guy, you had a bunch of other wacky that doesn't make any sense, and you spam it out there at the same time. You leave a gun that didn't do it out in the woods. You do a bunch of
Several conservative insiders quietly admitted that some of Candace's claims didn't match the FBI's version of events. Even Tucker Carlson, while trying to stay neutral, told his viewers the federal timeline just doesn't pass the smell test. That one comment flipped everything upside down. That subtle doubt from inside their own camp became the breaking point. For years, Turning Point USA had been the face of youth conservatism, a polished powerhouse shaping right-wing culture. But now, that empire was splitting right down the middle. Former allies were choosing sides between protecting the official story and joining those brave or reckless enough to question it. And the power struggle behind the scenes was getting dirty. Sources inside Turning Point whispered that Erica Kirk, Charlie's widow, had quietly taken control of all his digital accounts, personal files, and even unreleased projects. Reportedly, it all came down to a confidentiality contract signed just months before his passing. But here's the twist. Insiders claimed the document was drafted by a federal legal team, giving Erica full control over any communications linked to foreign donors. That detail set off alarm bells everywhere. Because if that's true, it means something way bigger was happening. It hinted at foreign money, possibly connected to what Charlie had been investigating before his death. Candace Owens told her audience that Charlie had confided in her about outside money, trying to control Turning Point's stance on Israel and Gaza, and then she said the threats began. Weeks later, she dropped another name, hedge fund billionaire Bill Ackman, accusing him of being part of what she called the Hamptons intervention. Ackman clapped back immediately, posting screenshots of friendly texts with Charlie and denying everything. But Candace wasn't backing off. She fired back online saying, "You can scrub the messages, but not the memory." That comeback alone sent the internet into meltdown. No one's confirmed her claims, but that hasn't stopped the wildfire. Across every social platform, fans and critics are dissecting every post, comparing timestamps, and connecting dots faster than fact-checkers can react. Whether Candace is cracking open a real conspiracy or just creating one, the Charlie Kirk case has become one of the most electrifying mysteries in years. While podcasts and YouTube streams can't stop talking about it, the mainstream media is tiptoeing around it like the floor is made of glass. The Guardian cautiously admitted that those strange engravings on the bullet casings and the athletic movements of the shooter didn't match Tyler Robinson's medical condition, but they avoided saying what everyone else is thinking, that maybe, just maybe, the story doesn't add up. Then the New York Times confirmed that investigators found a handwritten note tied to Robinson, but called it unverified. And that word, unverified, made people lose it online. It became the spark that reignited the firestorm. From there, theories exploded everywhere. Former Turning Point staffers began leaking supposed diagrams and timelines, showing that security cameras were mysteriously tampered with minutes before the shooting. One verified clip aired by multiple outlets showed a maintenance worker adjusting a camera right above Charlie's stage, just 3 minutes before shots were fired. Then days later, construction crews suddenly tore down that entire setup. Officials brushed it off as routine maintenance, but Candace called it exactly what people were thinking. Destruction of evidence. The comment section went wild. Meanwhile, Dave Chappelle had somehow become the epicenter of this entire mess. His Riad show was never supposed to be political. It was meant to be a celebration, a cultural bridge between Middle Eastern and Western comedy. But the second Dave mentioned Charlie Kirk's name, the vibe flipped instantly. From laughs to gasps. What was meant to unite people turned into a political explosion heard around the world. By naming Charlie, Dave broke an unspoken Hollywood rule: don't touch that story! And once he crossed that line, the whole house started shaking. His bold claim that the FBI was spreading misinformation to hide something way bigger made him both a legend to truth seekers and a target for critics. News anchors mocked him, politicians condemned him, yet even his harshest critics had to admit one thing that hit deep. The problem isn't that people believe Dave, it's that they believe the government less. But the part that really set the internet ablaze? Dave's most shocking theory yet, that Erica Kirk herself might have been used to control Charlie. He used the word honeypot, a term ripped straight from spy agencies, meaning someone placed close to a target to influence or manipulate through intimacy. He even pointed to her past as a media consultant, saying it gave her access to wealthy donors and political insiders. The same ones who have now vanished from Turning Point's donor lists. Nothing's been officially proven, but the timing of it all looks too wild to ignore. That emotional memorial moment, when Erica stood alone and said, "You have no idea the fire that you have unleashed," suddenly took on a whole new meaning. To some, it sounded like a warning shot. To others, like revenge dressed up as grief. And through it all, one detail refuses to fade. Charlie's parents, William and Jane Kirk, still haven't spoken a word. Their silence is louder than any statement could ever be. That chilling silence from Charlie Kirk's parents has become the core of Dave Chappelle's entire theory. He says they've been pressured into staying quiet because they know too much about what Charlie was working on before he was silenced. And honestly, the longer that silence drags on, the harder it is to ignore. It's been 2 whole months, no statement, no interview, no thank you post, nothing. Friends say even their Arizona home looks deserted, emptied out like they vanished overnight. Local reporters dug deeper and discovered something bizarre. Movers in unmarked white vans showed up less than a week after the memorial. Then public property records revealed the home was quietly transferred to a holding company tied to a DC law firm, one that often represents federal agencies. If that doesn't sound suspicious, what does? Sure, none of this is smoking gun proof, but come on, it doesn't look like normal grief either. It looks like relocation under orders. Every strange coincidence keeps leading back to one terrifying question. If the official story is cracking this fast, who's patching it back together behind the scenes? Dave swears he already knows. He claims it's all part of a government smokescreen, it's a diversion meant to bury the truth right where everyone can see it. And his words aren't staying in comedy circles anymore. They're echoing through late-night shows, podcasts, and even Congress. With Jimmy Kimmel still suspended, Candace Owens dropping unverified leaks every week, and Dave's theories exploding online, the public's trapped between two worlds, one built by the system and one built by those bold enough to question it. On one side, there's a clean, polished FBI file blaming a half-paralyzed college kid as the lone shooter. On the other, a chaotic web of contradictions, missing witnesses, and people too scared to speak. And floating above it all, that unforgettable scene from Riad, Dave Chappelle under blinding white lights saying he felt freer in Saudi Arabia than in the country that made him a legend. The crowd laughed nervously that night, not sure if it was a punchline or a confession. Maybe it was both, because as the applause faded and headlines exploded, one question refused to die. If the FBI's version keeps falling apart, why are Charlie's parents still silent? What are they being forced to hide? And the deeper people dig, the uglier this cover-up starts to look. Just days after Dave's comments lit up the internet, FBI Director Kash Patel tried to control the chaos. He reposted a Fox News article highlighting the shooter's romantic partner, who was reportedly transitioning from male to female. Patel called it proof of transparency, but insiders said it reeked of distraction. A slick PR move to humanize the case and steer eyes away from the mountain of inconsistencies. That single post blew up into another scandal overnight. Internet sleuths pointed out that FBI directors almost never comment on active investigations, especially not in first person. And the timing couldn't have been worse. Because that same weekend, boom, new Discord leaks hit the web. Screenshots showed Tyler Robinson joking with friends about being mistaken for a doppelganger. One message read, "Only if I get a cut," after a buddy joked about turning him in for the $100,000 reward. What once looked like dumb internet humor suddenly felt like a warning, or worse, a setup. Candace Owens and Joe Rogan jumped on it instantly. They both said those messages fit perfectly with the pattern of a man who knew he was being framed, someone aware another person might be playing his part. Those screenshots spread across every platform in minutes. Federal officials eventually confirmed the messages were real, but then called them irrelevant to motive. Yeah, right. The overlap between those leaks and Owens' theory that Robinson was a patsy, not the real shooter, it became impossible to ignore. Every new coincidence started looking like choreography. And then came the biggest twist yet, Erica Kirk. Dave's earlier claim that she'd been installed to control Charlie's empire suddenly gained new fire when internal documents surfaced, confirming she became interim CEO of Turning Point USA less than 2 weeks after his death. No board vote, no discussion, no public process. Just a quiet memo sent out at dawn. Insiders said the staff was stunned, especially because Charlie himself had once warned them not to let Erica near the business side. One former advisor told reporters, "He told us straight up, don't let her touch the accounts." Yet here she was, suddenly running everything, reorganizing finances, rewriting passwords, and promising a new era for the brand her husband built from scratch. Then comes that bizarre $100,000 reward. It wasn't a local initiative. It came straight from a Department of Justice discretionary fund, the kind usually reserved for high-level fugitives or terrorism suspects. That detail alone made the entire case reek of something much bigger. Candace later said the payout was never about finding the truth. It was about selling a story. They wanted to convince the public before anyone could question it, she claimed on her show. And when reporters asked the FBI for the full donor list tied to that so-called information fund, the Bureau flat out refused to release it. That silence didn't calm things down, it only made suspicions skyrocket. Because if this was really about transparency, why is every piece of evidence buried under red tape? Why does every answer lead to 10 more questions? Through all of this, Washington has stayed quiet. Too quiet. Not one senator, not one spokesperson, not one official has offered a straight answer. The country's caught in a tug of war between truth and illusion, and everyone's watching the pieces fall apart in real time. So here's the reality right now. Show the FBI's case is collapsing. Tyler Robinson's health records destroy their timeline. Charlie's parents have gone dark. Erica Kirk is suddenly in charge of everything. And Dave Chappelle, risking his career, his safety, and his legacy, is still standing alone, asking the one question that terrifies everyone in power. Who benefits from burying the truth? Maybe this was never just about Charlie Kirk. Maybe it's about power, about who owns the story, and who controls what the world gets to believe. Because when you connect all these dots, the timing, the money trail, the missing footage, the silenced family, it doesn't look like random tragedy anymore. It looks like a scripted operation dressed as reality. So what do you think? Was this really the act of one confused shooter? Or are we watching a cover-up unfold right in front of us? Drop your thoughts below. I want to hear your take. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video so more people see what's really going on. And trust me, you're not going to want to miss what comes next because this story is far from over.